Okay, so we're starting on project number 21. Project number 21 is actually a pretty good one. Not in the presentation we're drawing is actually really simple. But the main point that I consider Project 21 to be really good for is that Project 21 has a lot of good advice on making presentations. So with that said, let's come over here, and we are going to start with just the title slide. And we're just going to start by typing in delivering effective presentations. D-I. D-I. Wow. D-E-L-L-I-V-E-R-I-N-G. I can't believe it. D-V. Okay, delivering effective presentations with lots of typos. Okay, so we've got title slide in here. Let's go ahead and make our next slide. Our next slide is simply going to be title and body. Great. Okay, up here, tip number 1. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and center align this. Center align. We'll make the titles bold. Okay, I'm going to select the text here. Click on bold. Good. Let's make sure also that this is at least, or let's go 30 point, because we're doing 20 for the rest of our stuff, and so we want to make the title stand out a little bit. And I will move the title up a tiny bit. You see that red line is telling me that I am on center. Good. Okay, now let's go ahead and grab our text from the first slide. Okay, all the way down to summary. So create all the way down to summary. Control C, come back in here, and Control Shift V. Okay, if we'd have gone Control V, it would have been just as ugly. Control Z, just do it. Control V. You see, actually a little bit uglier. So let's go ahead. The first thing we're going to do is select everything here. Let's see if we can get this up to 20-point font already. No, it's probably, yeah, it did allow us. Good. Now, obviously, this is kind of ugly, okay? So we're going to do some of that backspace spacebar stuff that I so frequently do, because what's happened is to end a lot of these lines, a hard return's been entered, or they hit the enter key, and that creates things that just look weirdly cut off. And even if we were to bring this in some, it still looks weird, okay? So we're just going to go ahead and fix all of these sentences first. Backspace, spacebar. Just down arrow key. Just using the arrow keys here. Backspace, spacebar. And backspace, spacebar. Great. Now let's go ahead and we're going to make all of this black. It's not actually black. It's like this weird gray. Oops, not bold. Sorry. Right here. And you notice that it's not on black. Oops, come on. Come on. It's not on black, it's on this gray. So I'm just going to come up here and click on black. Okay, looks a bit better already. Now let's go ahead and select it all. Sorry, not all of it, but those 3 suggestions there. And we're going to apply a bulleted list. Now, if you, Control Z, at this point, if you want to use a different bullet shape, this isn't like the indented outlines we do where I want everybody to be at the same one so that we have a bit of consistency. So if there's something you like better, you can use different ones. I mean, it doesn't really matter which one you use on this, okay? I mean, I think you get the picture. And so I am going to go back to the regular one so people are able to see where I'm working from. Okay, these are going to have a lot of white space. All of these slides have a fair amount of space. A couple of things you can do with that space. We could insert pictures, or we could come back and basically make the text a bit bigger, making it, again, easier for people to view our presentation. We'll look at that when we're done, though, okay? So now we're going to come over here to slide 2. I'm going to right-click on slide 2, and I'm going to select duplicate slide because we never do more work than we have to. And this one is going to be tip number, click up there. Come on, tip number 2. Good. And in this one, we again don't have a whole lot of text here, but always consider your audience. Control C. I'm gonna go ahead and select everything here. Oddly enough, except the C, and that'll. The reason I don't get rid of that first letter right now is because then when I go Control Shift V, it comes in the same format. Now I'll just get rid of that C at this point. Now you can see that I need to do a little bit here. Okay, so backspace, spacebar, and you can tell there's not a whole lot on this slide. Backspace, spacebar. So again, a couple of things we can do here, which we might do later, is either making the text bigger or adding pictures. Remember, we can move this simply by going to this sizing handle right here and dragging that over and doing what we want with it. Okay, always consider your audience. Is your audience made up of subject experts? Obviously, if they are subject experts, you can use a lot of words without defining them because there's an expectation people know them. But if they're not subject experts, you've got to consider what they're likely to already know. Yeah, in our teaching stuff, we call that activating prior knowledge, but taking into account what they already know and making sure that you're not starting them at the point where they're just sitting there saying, I got no clue what he's talking about. Because, I mean, that happens, and it's not a really effective presentation. Let's go ahead and duplicate this slide. I came over here to 3 and I right-clicked on it, and I chose Duplicate Slide. Okay, and I'm going to come down here to tip number 3. Again, really easy. Consider all the way down to will it. Okay, so go ahead and grab all of this. Control C. Come back over here. Come down here, and I'm just going to go ahead and Control Shift V. Okay. So you can tell this is kind of ugly already. Okay, so I'm going to come up here, backspace, spacebar. Okay, backspace, spacebar. I want you guys to master this because it's an important part of making your text just look better. And you saw when I clicked down here that there was a couple of lines here. Then I used the arrow key to go down. So I do want to backspace over those just so that this actually ends where I think it's ending. So if I add pictures or anything, it doesn't take more room than it needs. Now let's go ahead and select these here. And I'm going to go off to this, and I'll use the bulleted list tool again. Remember, if you're using a custom bullet, use the same one throughout the presentation. Otherwise, again, it looks like garbage. It looks like you didn't plan it. Okay, so a couple things to consider here. Is it going to be printed or projected on a screen? In that case, a light-colored background and dark text is really a lot more readable. I see kids all the time doing their slideshows, particularly their IPS slide set, and they pick some dark purple background and dark red letters, and it's unreadable. And if it's unreadable, remember, it was a waste of your time to make it. It was a waste of your time to make it because nobody's going to read it. And it's a waste of the audience's time to try to look at it because they can't read it. It's garbage. Okay? So make sure that the text stands out from the background. Is it going to run automatically in a loop, or it just keeps running and running forever? Okay, in that case, you want to make sure that the slides are relatively short and there's enough time for the audience to read each slide as it flickers past them. Okay, will it be delivered via the internet? Certainly. Use high-quality audio. I mean, a lot of the videos that I download, if it's got terrible sound, I'll just trash it because I'm not going to try listening to stuff that sounds terrible. It's got, like, the person's talking in a cavern or something. So, some very good suggestions there. So I'm now going to come over here, slide 4. I'm going to right-click on slide 4. You guys know what I'm going to do. I'm going to click on duplicate slide. And then I'm going to come up here and tip number 4. And apply a consistent theme to all slides. Absolutely. Okay. Oops. Did we miss one? Just a minute. Yeah, we did. We'll go back to it in a minute. Okay. So let's go ahead. I'm going to grab this because I accidentally missed one. Control C. And you'll notice the reason that gets missed when you look at the material I gave you is where the line broke. So I clicked right there at the end. I hit Enter and Control Shift V. Now, of course, you see how it came in like that. Backspace, backspace, backspace. So that's good. Now I'll go to the word navigation here. backspace, 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 spacebar. Okay, and that's fixed. Okay, and again, what will be standalone, a presentation. In that case, some navigation tools for the viewer might help. Okay, slide number 4. I have no idea why I didn't give you guys the text for this one, but it doesn't matter because this one's really easy. Apply a consistent theme to all slides. Okay, I'm going to get rid of this dot right here because I didn't want this one bulleted, so I'll just backspace over that. Okay, period. So applying that consistent theme, that the style is the same on each slide. And what this is all about is making sure that the viewer doesn't have to work to find the information on your slides, because they're not going to, okay? They're not going to work to find the information. They'll just once your slide turns crosses their tolerance for garbage, and I don't know where that is for each and every individual, but everybody's got their own, their tolerance for garbage. And they're just going to tune out and stop paying attention at all because you overloaded them with garbage. And so you want to make sure that your slides have a very consistent theme. And that includes things like, come on, arrow key over, there we go, like using the same fonts and colors. Repeating elements. Oops, I see a typo there. Same fonts and colors. Good. Repeat and THROUGHOUT. It's one of those words that I almost always misspell throughout the presentation. And I'm just going to come up here to one I hit wrong. Okay. So, and I already a moment ago mentioned this. Using the same style bullet throughout the entire presentation, it simply looks better. It looks like it was thought out, not like it was just thrown together without paying any attention to what you were doing. Maintaining those same fonts and colors. Basically, the viewer needs to be putting their work into the information on your slide, not deciphering the slide itself. The slide is not the star of the show. The information is the star of the show. Okay, so slide 6, we're going to do something a little bit different on this one. So I'm going to come up here and I'm going to click on that drop arrow again. And I'm going to come over here and find this one that says one column text. We're going to do some stuff to it, but that's where I'm going to start. So I'm going to click on one column text. Good. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to I clicked in this big box. I'm going to grab that box and drag it over to about the halfway point. You see that red line right there? You see that red line? That tells me that I'm halfway over, halfway up and down. Now I'm going to go to the title box, and I'm going to pull that down until the red line is going right through the middle. Now I know that it is centered. Good. Now, design tips. And because we made the other headers 30 point and bold, we're going to do the same thing here. Okay? Yeah, you'll want to maintain a lot of consistency in your slides. I'm going to go ahead and drag this over a little ways. Again, making it look like it was fitted to it. And let's come up here now and grab the next set of points. Okay. Control C. Control V. We're going to have to fix this anyway, so don't worry about it. Okay, this is obviously kind of ugly. Let's first go ahead and Control A. Good. Okay, so what I did there is I just clicked somewhere in it and press Control A. If you're not in it and press Control A over here, it's going to select all the slide. I just wanted that little bit of it. Control Z. I'm going to click somewhere else to undo what I just did. Control A. Good. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make that 20-point font. Good. And I'm going to go ahead and make that black, the A if the underline, and make that into black. Good. Looks a lot better already. Okay. Now I'm just going to stretch this out a tiny bit. That's good enough. Okay. So let's see here. It looks okay. Now we're going to go ahead and add some bullet points to it and see how badly it falls apart. Okay, that isn't too bad. Okay, it really isn't. Okay, so limiting your bullet points to no more than 5 per slide. A single slide should have no more than 5 points. Just more than that, you're overwhelming your user. Limiting the number of fonts to 2 per slide, again, it comes down to simply looking good. And if you have a whole bunch of different fonts on the slide, unless there's a really good reason you did it, it looks jumbled. It just lacks consistency. Using contrasting colors for text emphasis. Yeah, you want the letters to stand out from the background. If the letters don't stand out, again, next one, pastel colors. If it's hard to read, people aren't going to read it. And if they're not going to read it, we're right back to the garbage point of it's garbage because it was a waste of your time to make it. Okay. And so the next one, using charts, tables, pictures to illustrate your key points, just try to bring them to life. And we'll do that when we're done here because I will admit this is a pretty dead slide set, okay? Okay, and slide number 7. So I'm just going to come over here and right-click on this one. You guys know what I'm going to do. I'm going to click on Duplicate Slide because as you see in these tips, not only is this easier, it's better. Delivery tips, things you should do while you're making your presentation. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to grab these. Control C. Come over here. Sort of go up here. Control V. Okay, so obviously we want to increase the font size. 20. Okay. Want to make sure that text is actually black. Right now, it's that gray. We want it to be a nice solid black. Looks much better already. Okay, now we just need to get rid of some of these because whenever somebody hit the enter key, that's where it's going to pop in a bullet point, and that's not necessarily what we want here. So I'm going to click right there, and backspace, 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 spacebar. Okay, come down here, know your time limit, backspace, 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 spacebar. Abbreviations that your audience may not understand. Dress appropriately for what you're doing. Let me come back here and we'll talk about these in a moment. Okay, good. So we've got all of these cleaned up. Fantastic. Okay, using consistent sound, transitions, animations. Basically, you want the person to learn your slides right from the beginning. Within the first 2 or 3 slides, they should have a clear understanding of what the information is going to be presented will look like, how it's going to be laid out in front of them. Okay? Again, it simply makes it easier, and we don't want to, and I'm just going to drag this up a tiny bit. The reason I'm dragging up is I kind of want an even amount of white space on both sides there. Okay? Making sure these things don't distract from the content. Okay? Be clear out the message of your slides. It be very short and on topic. Okay? It's easy to expand beyond the topic at hand. You know I do it all the time. But it's also not always such a good idea when you're trying to communicate complex information very quickly. Okay? Avoid using slang, incorrect grammar. Okay, some people are going to see the use of slang, grammar, and stuff as you simply didn't know how to do it. You didn't know what you were doing. And so some of that does not communicate well at all. The other thing is there's a lot of words and slang terms which weren't around last year, and they probably won't be around much next year, and the year after people will have forgotten them. And so it leaves your slides and you seeming very out of date when you try to load it up with those slang, grammar, and purposeful incorrect grammar, stuff like that. Your audience might not understand what you're trying to do there. Dress appropriately, speak clearly, make eye contact. To dress appropriately, speak clearly. The important thing to remember is when you're delivering a presentation, you are not the star. You're not. The information is the star. Okay? So you have to take second step. You have to basically step back from the information and ask, what's going to communicate my information best? Okay? When you're presenting us a presentation, a slide set, you're not the star. The slide set itself is not the star. The information is the star. Okay? And keep that in mind as you're making these things. Make eye contact with your audience. And don't just sit there making eye contact with one person. That always feels weird. But sort of move your eyes through the group. You know, so you'll make eye contact on one side of the room, then the other, then somebody kind of a little ways in on the other side. And so it makes it feel to people like you're talking to them, okay? Now, I will many of you know from my introduction to the class speech that there's a certain part where I say I'm purposely not making eye contact with any of you. That's because I'm identifying problems, okay? And so I'm purposely not at that point. But in general, you want to try keeping that eye contact moving through the room. Okay, so we kind of are done with this. Now, something we could do here is we could go ahead and add some pictures to it or something else. But what I want to do again is look at some of the package themes, okay? We're just going to go through some of these and see if they fit. Because remember, if you're using one of these, you need to look at your slides and see how it works on your slide. So oh, awful. Okay, that's a bad look. Okay, that's irredeemably bad. Okay. Okay, this one. Let's see here. Okay, it isn't really awful, except if you were really going to use it, you'd select this and probably move that up into the gray or down out of the gray. Pick one. It doesn't matter which one as much, but not halfway through the gray. Okay, that's just a bad look. Okay, let's see if everything else fits. Everything else is fitting. So, like I said, I'm not a big fan of the green. It's hard to read, okay? And you saw the instruction to stay away from those soft pastel colors. But also you would need to move these right here because all of them are halfway through the gray. And again, it's just not a good look. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, awful. Whenever you have the background behind it like this, you know, it's had to highlight the text out. That's just awful. Now, in theory, you could save this by coming up here. Okay, let's try saving this. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and purposely make the text white, and I make the highlighter color black. Okay, so you see, it could be saved. But you'd need to do that to each slide, okay? The reality is it wouldn't be too hard because you click on something you like, you click on Format Painter, you click on the next slide, and you'd very carefully drag the Format Painter all the way across it, okay? But really, light on dark is not easy to read, okay? It just isn't. Undo, undo. Good. So light on dark is not easy to read, and so I really do not recommend using it. It's just not a good choice. Okay, this one. Well, there's no text. Okay, I'm sure there is text here somewhere, but it clearly isn't showing up. Okay. Okay, so this one. We've got, what do we got going on here? Okay, not really terrible, except the brown's going to be a little bit hard to read. This little element right here is kind of close to your text. We got a problem here. So this one here, you'd need to either change the font color on this slide or change the font color on all your other slides. Pick one, it doesn't matter. But, well, really, this brown isn't so good. But yeah, don't let that slip through, where you've got one slide in a different color, okay? Again, it just looks stupid. Okay, so other than that, not terrible, except this brown might be hard to read from the back of the room. And you're sort of pressed right up against this little element right here, whatever that thing is supposed to be. You're pushed up against it, and it looks like you're chopping the thing off. In fact, you are chopping the thing off. So, it's okay, but it's not great. How about this one? Oh, that's that one. Okay, this one. Okay, irredeemably bad. Okay, there's no sense in even going through this one. I mean, you guys can see this is just awful. Okay. Again, just awful. Okay, yeah, we need to resize everything so that all of it fit down here. And so we'd need to resize and move a lot of our text. We could do that. We'd also need to change the color of a lot of our text. We could do that. But I think you get the picture, you know, that it's really quite a bit of work. It's not impossible to do, but it would still, you know, we come up here, we like go to this one and pull that down a little ways. So, and we do that on the next one. Well, this one here, we'd have to change the color of the text to match. You get in the picture. There's quite a bit you got to do there. Undo, undo. Good. Okay, let's go to the next one. This one, ooh. Okay, almost halfway decent. Oh yeah, almost not terrible. We would need to move these here, okay? Because that's a terrible look. So I need to come to that. Come on, very carefully pull that down a little ways. Oops, where'd it go? And now it's a little bit better, okay? So, but you'd need to do that to every single one, okay? Just to make the point. And we got this one here where, again, we don't have the same color. Don't let that slip through. If you decide you're going to do this, you know how to do it. You're going to go to one of them like this one here. You'll click on something that's right. You'll click on Format Painter, and then you come down here and you'll drag that over this stuff. You could do it. It's a bit of work, but sure. And you'd need to move, don't forget, all of these tip numbers. So look at this one. Okay, anything terrible here? Okay, the first thing that stands out is that this one slide is in a different color. Next, I can barely read this on my screen. Across the room? No. Okay, this color's terrible. I'm just going to tell you, this color's terrible. It's just not a good color because people can't read it. And this, so I can sneak stuff in and nobody will read it. So I don't have to do a good job. No, that doesn't work. Okay? So, it's just awful. Let's go to the next one. No, irredeemably bad. Okay, next one. Okay, let's take a look at this one. Okay, we got another one of these. You'd have to fix all the color. Okay, other than that, it isn't truly terrible. Like they said, we're still not fans of the pastel, the soft colors. They just are a little bit harder to read. But aside from that, about the only other thing you'd have to do is fix this slide here. And again, just pick a color. Don't care which one, but pick one of them. And really, because the whole point of this one is the red text, you try to match this one to the red text. Okay? Let's go to the next one. Okay, let's see here. This isn't too bad. Yeah, this one's not terrible. Yeah, it's not terrible. That's about the best compliment you'll get on these. But this one isn't terrible, okay? The text is clean. It's all the same color. Basically, it has a very consistent look through it, okay? So I would call this one okay. Let's go to the next one. Okay, we've got the same thing with that weird bit about colors not matching. I don't know. It's okay. I mean, this one's okay if you fixed this slide number 4, but beyond that, I'm just not. I wouldn't, but that's just me. Okay, how about this one? Okay, this one doesn't look bad at all. Okay, I wouldn't call this one garbage. This one doesn't look bad. You've got a soft background, which actually looks a little bit better than plain white. It just makes it look like you actually put a little bit of effort into doing something. So it looks okay. We got nothing weird going on. No text is cut off. This isn't bad, okay? It isn't, at least it isn't awful. Let's click on the next one. Okay, this one. Okay, again, you got that red thing. You got this going on again, so you need to fix that. Beyond that, fixing this slide here, this would be okay. It's not great. The reds are kind of hard to read from a distance. We've learned a lot about color theory. And red was probably not the right color for stop signs and stoplights, as we know now, but it's what we did. Okay, let's click on this one. Okay, so let's have a look through here. Okay, again, you got that weird color thing, and you're cutting into the weird shape here, okay? So you got to be aware of that you're cutting into that shape. So this one's not so great because, you'd have to move the text around on this slide to make it look okay. And there'd be a fair amount of work to make this one look good. Is that the same one? Yeah, same one. Okay, just awful. That yellow's almost unreadable, okay? Really, this background behind your text look is not a good look, okay? It just is not. It just isn't a good look. The yellow, not very readable. Not recommended. How about this one? Okay. Slide. Yeah, that looks okay. This isn't bad, okay? This one's not bad. I give this one an okay. Let's see. You guys, hopefully by now, are getting... Oh, bad. Okay. Okay, I think you guys are getting the pictures to what I'm looking for on these. Okay, slide's a different color, but aside from that, can you actually look at your screen right now and read that? Yeah. No. Okay, let's go to this one. No. This one. Okay, again, I'm not a big fan of the color. At least it's a little better than that yellow or whatever it was. You still got this slide, something going on a slide here. So you got something weird going on there. Beyond that, you'd have to fix this one slide. It isn't terrible. Not great, but isn't terrible. Let's see.
Oh, that was it. Okay, game day. Okay, so let's go ahead and pick one that I thought was halfway decent. I think it was this one, wasn't it? Okay. And again, you can. I think you guys got the picture of what we're looking for here. Is it has to be highly readable. Okay, so that was Project 21 and a look at readability in slides.